Texas is one of those places that feels larger than its borders. It is a state, but also a symbol: cowboys, oil rigs, wide highways, borderlands, spaceflight, ranches, booming cities, and a flag with a single star. Today, Texas is the second largest state in the United States by both area and population, covering more than 268,000 square miles and home to more than 31 million people. It is the most populous state in the American South, yet it also reaches into the Southwest, blending regions, cultures, climates, and economies. To understand Texas, you have to see it as more than a point on a map. Its story is about scale, identity, conflict, migration, resources, and reinvention. Few states have moved so dramatically from frontier territory to independent republic, from cotton and cattle to oil and high technology, and from rural myth to urban powerhouse. Geography is the first reason Texas feels so distinct. It borders Louisiana to the east, Arkansas to the northeast, Oklahoma to the north, and New Mexico to the west. To the south and southwest, it shares an international border with Mexico, following much of the Rio Grande, one of North America's most historically important rivers. This border connects Texas to the Mexican states of Chihuahua, Coahuila, Nuevo León, and Tamaulipas. To the southeast, Texas opens onto the Gulf of Mexico, giving it ports, coastline, wetlands, and access to global trade. The state is so large that traveling across it can feel like crossing several regions. East Texas has pine forests and humid lowlands. Central Texas has hills, springs, and limestone country. West Texas stretches into desert, mountains, and open sky. The land itself helped shape the politics, economy, and culture that followed. Long before Texas became part of the United States, it was part of a contested borderland. Spain was the first European power to claim and control the region, folding it into its broader empire in North America. Spanish influence came through missions, settlements, ranching traditions, military posts, and place names that still define the landscape. There was also a brief period of French colonization, which added urgency to Spanish efforts to hold the territory. But after Mexico won independence from Spain in 1821, Texas became part of the new Mexican nation. This transition mattered because Texas was remote from Mexico City, lightly settled in many areas, and attractive to migrants from the United States. Mexican officials encouraged settlement to develop the region, but that policy created tensions that grew increasingly difficult to manage. The Texas Revolution emerged from a mix of political, cultural, and economic tensions. Settlers in Texas, many of them from the United States, clashed with the Mexican government over issues including local autonomy, governance, and the future direction of the territory. These disputes escalated into open conflict in the 1830s. The Battle of the Alamo became the most famous episode, not because it was a military victory for the Texian rebels, but because it became a powerful symbol of resistance and sacrifice. In 1836, after the Revolution, Texas declared itself an independent country, the Republic of Texas. This is the origin of the state's famous nickname, the Lone Star State. The single star on the flag refers to that period of independence, when Texas stood as its own republic between Mexico and the United States. The Republic of Texas lasted nearly a decade, but independence came with serious problems. The new republic faced questions about debt, defense, borders, diplomacy, and recognition. It was vulnerable to renewed conflict with Mexico, and many of its settlers favored joining the United States. In 1845, Texas was admitted to the Union as the 28th state. This decision had major consequences. Its annexation was one factor that helped trigger the Mexican-American War in 1846, a conflict that reshaped the map of North America. Texas statehood also intensified debates inside the United States over slavery and territorial expansion. Texas entered the Union as a slave state, tying its early American political identity to the broader sectional struggles that would eventually lead to the Civil War. During the American Civil War, Texas seceded from the Union in 1861 and joined the Confederate States. Its position on the southwestern edge of the Confederacy made it different from the war's main battlefronts, but it was still deeply connected to the conflict. Slavery, plantation agriculture, and cotton production shaped much of its political economy. After the Confederacy's defeat, Texas went through Reconstruction and the restoration of its representation in the federal government. But the post-war period was difficult. The article describes a prolonged period of economic stagnation after the war. Like much of the South, Texas had to rebuild institutions, labor systems, transportation networks, and markets. This period also laid the groundwork for the next phase of Texas identity, a rural economy built around land, livestock, crops, and natural resources. Before Texas became associated with oil and skyscrapers, its economy was shaped by bison, cattle, cotton, timber, and open land. The cattle industry became one of the strongest engines of the Texas economy and helped create the traditional image of the Texas cowboy. Cattle drives, ranches, and frontier life became part of national mythology, but they were also practical responses to the environment and markets. Vast grasslands supported herds, and rail connections eventually helped move livestock to northern and eastern markets. Over time, however, the cattle industry became less lucrative relative to other sectors. Cotton expanded, especially in areas where plantation and sharecropping systems took hold. Timber also became important in the forested eastern part of the state. Texas was not one economy, but several regional economies layered across a massive territory. Then came oil, and oil changed everything. The discovery of major petroleum deposits transformed Texas from an agricultural and ranching state into a center of industrial power. The most famous moment was Spindletop, the 1901 oil discovery near Beaumont. Spindletop produced a dramatic oil boom and helped launch the modern petroleum age in Texas. Oil created fortunes, companies, refineries, pipelines, ports, and entire communities built around extraction and processing. For much of the 20th century, petroleum became one of the driving forces of the state's economy. It also shaped politics, infrastructure, education, and the global image of Texas. The oil boom did not erase ranching or cotton, but it gave Texas a new identity, a place where underground resources could fuel national growth and private ambition. The modern Texas economy is no longer just about oil, even though energy remains central. Over the mid-20th century and into the 21st, Texas developed a diversified economy with major roles in technology, aerospace, computers and electronics, biomedical sciences, agriculture, petrochemicals, tourism, and exports. As of 2024, Texas had the second highest number of Fortune 500 company headquarters in the United States, with 52. This matters because corporate headquarters attract high-paying jobs, investment, professional services, and political influence. Texas has also led the United States in state export revenue since 2002, reflecting its ports, energy sector, manufacturing base, and proximity to Mexico. Supporters often point to low taxes, business growth, job creation, and a regulatory environment designed to encourage investment as reasons for the state's rapid expansion. Texas is also defined by its cities, and those cities reveal how much the state has changed. The Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex is one of the largest urban regions in the country, ranking 4th nationally. It is a massive network of business districts, suburbs, airports, logistics hubs, universities, and corporate offices. Greater Houston is close behind, ranking 5th among U.S. urban regions. Houston grew around energy, shipping, medicine, and space-related industries, and its port links Texas to the world. Austin, the state capital, has become famous for government, music, universities, and technology. These urban regions challenge the older image of Texas as mainly rural ranchland. The cowboy remains a powerful symbol, but modern Texas is increasingly metropolitan, diverse, connected, and economically complex. The landscapes of Texas are unusually varied because of the state's size and geology. The Balcones Fault, for example, helps mark a transition between coastal plains and upland regions, influencing settlement patterns, water sources, and terrain. Most population centers developed in former prairies, grasslands, forests, and coastal areas where farming, transport, and trade were easier. Moving from east to west, Texas changes dramatically. The east can be wet, wooded, and green. The Gulf Coast has swamps, bays, beaches, and industrial ports. Central areas include rolling plains and rugged hills. Farther west, the land opens into arid basins, desert, and the mountains of Big Bend. This variety helps explain why Texas contains pieces of both the South and the Southwest without fitting neatly into either category. So what makes Texas so influential? Part of the answer is scale, land, population, cities, resources, and economic output. But another part is historical memory. Texas was Spanish, then Mexican, then a rebellious republic, then an American state, then a Confederate state, and then a rebuilt economic powerhouse. Each phase left traces in its identity. Its border with Mexico gives it a cultural and political importance that extends beyond state lines. Its Gulf Coast gives it trade and energy power. Its interior gave rise to ranching and agriculture. Its oil fields helped fuel the 20th century. Its cities now help shape the 21st. Texas is not just large because of its square miles. It is large because its history, economy, and geography continue to influence the direction of the United States. If you found this helpful, please like this video and subscribe for more explainers.